Hi, everyone. It's finally great to meet you. My name is Samantha Potter, and for my analysis, I read the graphic novel Long Walk to Valhalla, written by Adam Smith.
The cover of this graphic novel is very simple and straightforward. Long Walk to Valhalla, written by Adam Smith and illustrated by Matthew Fox. Published by Archaea. There is 136 pages of story in this graphic novel. It is a genuine graphic novel as one complete story is told from the beginning to end. The creative team is made up of Adam Smith and Matthew Fox. They created the story. Written by Adam Smith. Illustrated and lettered by Matthew Fox with color assists by Fred Stursing. Designed by Kelsey Diedrichs. And edited by Rebecca Taylor. Long Walk to Valhalla fits our model of 1/4, 1/2, and 1/4. Act 1 begins on page 1 and ends on page 34. Act 2 begins on page 35 and ends on page 102. Act 3 begins on page 103 and ends on page 136. The story begins with Rory as he is the protagonist. The story follows him as he recounts events from his past that still haunt him after many years. He got a new job in Memphis and was headed to check out an apartment in that area. Unfortunately, his car broke down, which created his first goal, to fix the car and get back on the road. His goal later shifts to accompanying Sylvia into town and then to Valhalla. The conflict in Act 2 definitely supports the goal because Rory and Sylvia walk side by side into town. While doing so, Sylvia questions Rory on his past, which makes him recount aloud memories he would more so like to forget. The conflict is introduced when these memories present some of the hardest times in Rory's life, and we as the audience get to see him work through those situations with the help of Sylvia. It's almost as if the longer it takes for Rory to work through, understand, and accept his past, the longer the trip is going to be. The story has a solid story arc equipped with a clear beginning, middle, and end. The protagonist is introduced in Act 1 along with impending conflict. In Act 2, the protagonist battles obstacles obstructing the path to his goal. Rory, the protagonist, reaches the point of no return on page 97 when elaborating on his daughter's untimely passing. He must come to terms with the cause of her death and was unable to without Sylvia. In Act 3, the protagonist is born again and comfortable with himself and his upbringing. The resolution is satisfactory because we, the audience, get to watch as the character transforms from a broken adult haunted by his past to an independent and strong man. I am a little unsure of a solid character arc for Joe and Sylvia as they were more companion characters to Rory. Rory has a solid character arc. In the beginning, he is uncertain of his future, plagued by his past, and running from his hometown. He transforms through the novel and is seen at the end as a strong, focused, and peaceful man. I also want to note that in Act 1, Rory faced one obstacle that seemed to be the root of every other obstacle in the story. He took care of his older brother Joe, who suffered from a psychological disorder and learning disability. He would often see magical creatures and was scared of them. Rory couldn't see them himself, but would always try to calm Joy down for his safety. At the end of Act 1 on page 32, Rory sees these creatures for the first time and is afraid. He can't believe his own eyes. At the end of Act 3 on page 136, Rory sees the creatures for himself again and is not afraid of them. The graphic novel made use of effective transitions to show action in a scene. For example, on page 18, Rory's car had broken down on the side of the road. He picked up the phone and tried to call his best friend, but is unable to due to it being prepaid and out of minutes. A single panel is used to show the phone being thrown into a nearby field. It's easy for the audience to tell what is happening from one panel to the next. The scene is clearly illustrated and the audience never loses track of where they are. McLeod describes 6 types of panel-to-panel transitions used to drive the story forward. These panels are often brief and used to show things happening. They are movement to movement, action to action, subject to subject, scene to scene, aspect to aspect, and non sequitur. The most common transitions seen in Long Walk to Valhalla is movement to movement and subject to subject. For example, movement to movement is seen on page 28. Rory helps Sylvia up onto a wooden beam to sit. The movement is detailed and illustrated from panel to panel in transitional shots. Subject to subject is seen on page 51. Rory and his best friend Tom get into an argument which progresses into a fist fight. The panels shift from subject to subject as they progress along to show the action of the fight while calling for more reader involvement. The story makes use of the page as a mini-comic idea and it works effectively. Bits and pieces of Rory's life from the past and present is presented to the audience page by page. The scenes are exhibited in such a way as to where the audience can infer their own understanding of the scene. For example, on page 9, Rory and Joe are at a gas station. Rory asks the cashier for 4 boxes of ephedrine. Obviously, these two boys aren't mastermind drug lords, so who are they buying the ingredients for meth for? The mini-comic leads the audience to make their own assumptions while enticing them to turn the page. The movement of the art combined with the layout and text on page pulls the reader through. The text is arranged in a way from panel to panel to direct the audience's attention. The dialogue exhibits a Z pattern from page to page, which urges the reader to turn the page to find out what happens next. Can you see the Z pattern on page 96? Also, on almost every page, the last panel has some sort of movement to the right, which directs the reader to turn the page. It's a tactic that was effective because I couldn't stop reading. The directional flow of the comic was effective and successful. I recommend this graphic novel to my classmates because it challenges the reader to create their own understanding of the story. The book never outright answers the impending question of what's wrong with Joe. The reader has to form their own opinion as they move along in the story. The book is also a fresh take on what I originally see in comics. I'm used to reading action-filled superhero comics, which is completely different from Long Walk to Valhalla. The book is filled with a lot of emotion that will pull at your heartstrings, so prepare yourselves. I would also definitely recommend this graphic novel to my friends because it's a fresh take on what most know of comics in terms of story content. As previously mentioned, it's a story focused around an emotional plot that will pull at their heartstrings. Everyone needs to experience this book as it deals with tough subjects such as loss of a loved one, family abuse, drugs, etc. Fun fact, I read the entire graphic novel in 30 to 45 minutes. It was that good. I highly recommend it. In order for me to truly enjoy a story, I have to become it. I propel myself into the character's world and envision the story from their eyes. It was easy to do with Long Walk to Valhalla, and I encourage everyone to give it a try.
Thank you for being a part of my analysis for A Long Walk to Valhalla, written by Adam Smith. It was a great book, and hopefully, by my analysis, you're convinced to run out, grab it, and read it for yourself. Thank you, and have a great day.